Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you. Hi everybody, I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton is with me. The Court of Public Opinion from the garage is with us. We're going to have to either get a bigger battery or a shorter program because we run dangerously close to having that little thing blink at you, don't we?
Well, we do, but it's a spare battery. We don't want to shorten the program.
No, well, buy a spare battery, I reckon. I think that's what we'll do.
Or find the one that's in your pocket somewhere.
Yes, I do have a spare battery somewhere. Not the most organised person in the world, ladies and gentlemen. I left you yesterday with my comments about the Prime Minister and what I believe are the lies he has told us and he thinks he'll get away with. My problem, I suppose, is that most people have been lied to so often will simply dismiss this latest lack of prime ministerial integrity as just what they do. It's what they do. We should not excuse them. We should insist upon the highest levels of integrity from our leaders. Honestly, he must not be allowed to get away with this latest backflip. When asked, he repeatedly said that there'd be no change or changes to superannuation in the lead up to the election. He lied. He lied. Electricity would be cheaper. He lied. And now, changes that he promised would never be made to stage 3 of the tax cuts. Another lie. I want to talk to you at length about this, and I don't mind if you make strong comments on my strong comments. That's what we're about. Now, I wanted to bring this up before I forgot about it, Pete. You remember you and I were talking about that live sheep carrier?
Yes.
That was turned back out of the Red Sea because of the
conflict.
The terrorists who were threatening the shipping lanes. I don't know if this is the same live sheep carrier. But we now know that there is a live sheep carrier that's been at sea for about a month with 17,000 live, well, I may say live, but I would think mainly dead sheep, heading back to Fremantle with this horrific cargo. Absolutely shocking. Now, what are the authorities going to do when that ship docks?
Nothing.
Nothing. Probably nothing. Look the other way. Will the media be there? I hope Animals Australia will be there. I hope someone will send me some footage, even though it's shocking and I don't like looking at it myself. We need to see it. A civilized country should not be doing this to its livestock.
Can I take my song on the end?
Take your song on it. I think we got great response.
One?
We got great response.
Yeah, but the one about the live sheep export.
Oh yes, on today's program.
Put it on at the end.
Yeah, put it on again. I mean, I think this is an absolute scandal. How farmers could possibly turn their back on what was happening to their livestock. My romantic feeling about farmers is they care for their animals. You can't just put them on a ship like that, pack them all in, and have them in those circumstances for months, and they're not even get to what will be a shocking death anyway. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. We'll keep you across that. Australia Post is under siege again. Losses of more than $100 million. How, when you have a monopoly, you are a government organisation. Yes, you're corporatised. But you've got a clever, I'm assuming, a clever board, a clever management. They're under siege, losing another $100 million. What do? They lift the cost of a stamp to $1.50. How does that compute? People will use less and less of your services. Is that what you want? Or you're trying to position the government, or somebody may be trying to position the government to get them to sell it whereabouts you'll turn it all around. I don't know. But you guys don't deserve to be in the business. The workers, the network is terrific. It's the board and the management that have got to go. How do you possibly not capitalise on this marvellous enterprise called Australia Post? I think you're pathetic. Anyway, somebody sent me something the other day and said, should animals be allowed to vote? Pete, what do you think?
Yes, I'd like to see that.
I'd like to see how those sheep voted. But I think there's probably a television program in that. But speaking of TV shows, you know, I thought The Gladiators was absolute rubbish. Terrible, terrible program. And that was just gleaning it from the promos, because I made a judgment based on the promos, because you see the promo and you make a judgment as to whether or not you're going to watch it. Well, I certainly didn't. But, you know, Channel 10 spent 2 months promoting the hell out of The Gladiator in every commercial break. It lasted 2 weeks. 2 weeks. What the hell? Who makes these programming decisions? But speaking of programs, on Friday's program, the jeremycordo.com program on From the Dining Room Table, we had Leon Biner, Michael Baugen, who produces a fantastic television show called Mustard Dogs. Great TV show. Sunday nights on the ABC. In fact, in 2022, it was the most watched program the ABC had. Even the election didn't get more viewers. It's all about sheepdogs, mustard dogs. We had Les Ellicus. He was there. Leighton rang in from Tokyo. John Paul Drake with his great philosophy on Australia Day. From Drake's Supermarkets, he rang in. Mark McCrindle, demographer, futurologist, on last week's 27 million population milestone, 20 years ahead of projection. No, it was good. I had to apologise several times because we had endless problems with the telephone. In fact, what I've resolved to do, because if I'm talking, I have to interrupt what I'm going to say to take a call, because I can't, there's nobody to take the call and stack it and say, oh, Jeremy will be with you in a minute. So we don't have that facility with that technology that we're using at the moment. I've got to think of some way of making that whole thing less clunky. But for those of you who watch the program, I apologise for the clunkiness, and I am working hard, or we all are working hard on making it a very smooth show. But there are going to be wrinkles with it, because we're trying to do with a very small, I don't know what you'd call it, level of technology, what radio stations have $500 million invested in. We're doing with about $150. But the technology, I think, is amazing. Our use of it is probably not ideal. But what I'm going to do maybe is to record the interviews record the interviews that we are doing, which will leave the phone open for, or when I say record, I mean pre-record the interviews, which will leave the phone open for people ringing in. Anyway, we'll try that. We'll see what happens. The Friday before last, when Dr. John Bruni was on the show, and we were talking about submarines, because I was questioning, you know, how 8 submarines could be 386 billion when the submarines were only 20 billion each. 20 times 8 does not come out to 364 billion. It doesn't. Anyway, we argued all of that through. But he pointed out that even today, with the Collins-class submarine, it is actually very difficult to man them. And only one submarine is ever in the water. Not enough people to crew one submarine, or man one submarine. I don't know if women are on board submarines. Maybe they are these days, I'm not sure. Well, the problem is not confined, I'd like you to know here, in the court of public opinion, it's not confined to submarines. We are trying to find enough people at the moment to keep our army about 60,000 strong. I don't know how you attract people to serve their country. When I think back in history, when I want to learn a lesson or learn something, I always look at history. In the First World War, we managed to have 600,000 men. I don't think any women. They were possibly nurses, but they were certainly not in the trenches in the front row. 600,000 men. That's about 6 divisions, I think, of well-trained, enthusiastic, tough fighting men. Now we find it almost impossible to sustain one division. One division. I hate to point out the obvious, but this country is extremely vulnerable. One division could not protect this country. Maybe there aren't any votes in trying to protect and keep safe this wonderful country. But if we ignore the lessons of history, we will do it at our chagrin. Sadly, since the beginning of summer, 66, and I think perhaps now it's even 67, people have drowned just since the beginning of summer. Mostly creeks, rivers it seems. 4 dead in Melbourne's Phillip Island just last week. 4 at the one beach. 4 people dead, one beach, one day. The victims are mostly men. They're mostly between 18 and 60. Did alcohol play a part? I don't know. Perhaps swimming lessons should be compulsory. I don't think they are. But if you get caught in a rip, I don't think even swimming lessons are going to be of much use. So, you know, just please be careful. Tomorrow I'll get stuck into this in more detail, but if I could just get into it a little bit here, if I have the time. I'm talking about the promises made by the Prime Minister and my determination that he should not be able to skate over or spin it in any way that lets him off the hook. Everyone will get a tax cut. Code for I'm going to renege on my much repeated promise to implement the legislated stage 3 tax cuts in full. It will cost over $300 billion to deliver these cuts going forward. Yeah, how many years? Didn't mention that. But hang on. In any case, it's not your money. You behave like it's your money. Like you think it's your money. Money earned is best left in the pockets of the people who earned it, the words of Abraham Lincoln. I don't care how you wiggle and squirm. It looks to me like you, sir, are a liar. At 2 elections, you made the promise, I quote, a Labor government will deliver the same legislated tax relief to more than 9 million Australians that the Morrison government predicted, promised. Or on 3AW, leading up to an election, if a politician makes a promise, you have every right to expect that promise will be kept. Not much wiggle room there. A statement from an interview on Sunrise on Channel 7, they are law, and for me it's a matter of integrity and trust. The words of Anthony Albanese. They are law, and for me it's a matter of integrity and trust. In another interview in The Australian, my word is my bond. It's right up there with, there will be no carbon tax under a government I lead. Now basically, sadly, whichever party, if there is no truth in political advertising, legislation, as there is in advertising anything, dog food, cars, travel, anything, truth in advertising, legislation, allows us to have some faith. If we don't have a law like that applies to the politicians, we cannot trust a word they say. So they may as well not have a platform or a political speech. Mind you, you have to be careful. You really do have to be careful with this guy, because if he gets away with it, if he gets away with this broken promise, franking credits, a tax on the family home, these are all promises he made that he wasn't going to do anything like this. Franking credits, tax on the family home, a new NDIS levy. An NDIS levy? Taxes on unearned profits. The man and all politicians and all future politicians have to be sent a message. You just can't lie. Although I don't think he will be leading the Labor Party at the next election. If any of these people get the impression that they can lie and still win, we're in significant trouble. And I'll leave you with one little thought here. The press club, where the Prime Minister appeared last Wednesday, the press club work on at least 6 weeks ahead. Now, I heard a journalist didn't pick this up. Didn't pick it up. Angus Taylor, Shadow Treasurer, reckons Anthony Albanese made the decision to scrap the Stage 3 tax cuts in December. December. For him to appear Wednesday at the press club to sell his crock of nonsense, that would make sense. Back in December is when he would have had to book the press club. So spending $500,000 of our money to bring everyone back to Canberra on Wednesday, a complete waste of our money. It was a piece of stage management or window dressing. And several times in the last 6 weeks, he repeated the pledge that the tax cuts would go ahead, while knowing full well the opposite was the case. Absolutely grubby I think I did make a mistake. The press club thing was on Thursday. The caucus meeting was on the Wednesday. But he knew about the changes and the decision in December. I mean, he could have sent the caucus people a message. Decision made. $500,000. And this guy presumably got all those people together on the pretext of a talk fest about the cost of living. Much better to get one together on the cost of stupid government, wasteful government, spendthrift government, deceitful government. Anyway, I better shut up. I better shut up before I get assassinated. Thank you very much for being with us in the court of public opinion. I do get carried away. I do apologise for that. I don't know what I've done with my glasses. Pete, did you see? Oh, there. Yep, hang on. I've got to be careful not to knock the microphone because it makes a hell of a noise. Happy birthday. 1930 on this day. Gene Hackman, 1930. Oh, very good actor, Gene Hackman. Bonnie and Clyde, The Conversation, The French Connection, The Birdcage, Superman. Born in California. He did another movie which was called Prime Cut, which is a horror movie, really, in a way. Anyway, he was born Gene Hackman, 1930. Elvis Presley recorded his cover version of Carl Perkins' Blue Suede Shoes. But most people, of course, think Blue Suede Shoes was Elvis Presley's song. Well, I'm sure it was a bigger hit. Was it, Pete?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But it was Carl Perkins' original song back in 1956 at the Sun Records company. Sam Phillips, who ran Sun Records. Sidney Sheldon, he was a lovely man. I used to talk to him regularly. American novelist, playwright, Masters of the Game, Bloodline, The Bachelor and the Bobby Soxer. He dies of pneumonia at 89 on this day in 2007. The state funeral of Sir Winston Churchill at St Paul's Cathedral in London, at the time the world's largest ever state funeral. The Beatles performed their last live gig, a 42-minute concert on the roof of Apple Corps. That's interesting, isn't it? I suppose it's Apple Corp, but I'm tempted to say Apple Corps. In London, 1969. What they were doing on the roof, why they were there, why they had their instruments, I have no idea. Phil Collins, British Oscar, Grammy, Novello, Brit Award-winning rock drummer, pop singing songwriter, Genesis. I can dance! He was also an actor too, wasn't he? Anyway, he was born in England in 1951 on this day. Patty Andrews, one of the Andrews sisters, American pop and swing singer. Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company B and Rum and Coca-Cola, dies at 94 on this day in 2013. Rubik of Rubik's Cube applies for a patent for his magic cube in 1975. I would imagine he made an awful lot of money out of Rubik's Cube. Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne, published in France by Hetzel. Pierre-Jules Hetzel, 1873. I Fall to Pieces by Patsy Cline. Song of the Year back in 61. Olivia Colman, English. Broadchurch, oh yes, I remember seeing her. 1974, born in 1974. And the Mutual Broadcasting Network begins airing the late night show with the great Larry King on this day in 1978. Thanks so much, have a happy day. I'll have more to say about this duplicitist government in Canberra tomorrow. But in the meantime, I'll try and cool down. And tomorrow, more about the the lies that this government is prepared to is prepared to present barefaced to the Australian people. No more. We've got to dig our heels in, and I'm just going to keep on banging on about it. In the meantime, thank you so much. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux, Peter Clayton behind the camera. Look forward to your company tomorrow in the Court of Public Opinion. Believe in yourself. And let me throw to this most pertinent film clip of Pete doing his song about the live sheep trade. Who is the guy with you, by the way, Pete?
Sean Coughlin, a friend of mine.
Sean Coughlin. I think you're both great together.
Thank you.
Should have gone up to Tamworth and won the day. That song would have been very successful, I would have thought. Very popular. Anyway, have a look at this again as the ship comes back to Fremantle. Not that we're going to hear a lot about it, but we will keep reminding the powers that be that we know that they know that we know that they know that we know. Bye for now.
They've loaded up another ship with 30,000 head. A death ship bound for the Middle East and a callous halal death. Lambs to the slaughter, their throats slashed and bleeding at the hands of heartless men without compassion or feeling. Where is the voice of reason when humanity is lost? When it's all about the bottom line, no matter what the cost. Suffocating in stifling heat, struggling for food and water, an indictment of mankind to put animals through the torture of sleeping if they can on a bed of their own waste. It's cruel and indefensible, a government disgrace. Where is the voice of reason when humanity is lost? When it's all about the bottom line, no matter what the cost. A government that does nothing in the face of mounting proof of cruelty unimaginable. They still won't see the truth. This is not the Australian way. This is not who we are. A barbaric trade that has no place in my Australia. Where is the voice of reason when humanity is lost? When it's all about the bottom line, no matter what the cost. Why won't they listen? Why won't they act? Animals are suffering, that's a fact. Where is the voice of reason when humanity is lost? When it's all about the bottom line, no matter what the cost.
Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.